Hello, my name is James Jack, and this is Skills to Pay the Bills. The show is called Homes Radio. It's a show that I normally host here at Fairfax Cable, and it's been a while, so if I happen to just sort of meander a little bit, it's basically one of those things of where I'm getting back into the groove. A friend of mine, Tia Young, called me and asked me, is there anything that you would like to do more than anything else in the world? And I said, to please you, I would love to come in and do a show. 30 minutes, that's all I can take, okay? So she says to me, well, which topic would you like to take on? I said, isn't that strange? You should ask. At this time, I'm actually working on the renovation of the house that burned a couple of years ago, 2 days before Christmas. Remember I did that show? And she says, oh, yes, I remember. It was a beautiful home, and then it burned. It almost burned to the ground, if it were not for the fact that it was a brick construction all the way around. However, that didn't stop the county from saying to me, if you want to rebuild this house, every stick of wood has to be replaced. Just about everything, except the bricks. Well, some of the bricks have to be replaced because the temperatures got so hot until they turned basically to powder, flour, if you will. So let's go back a couple of years ago when I took you through the house. We climbed in through the second floor rear window. Just about everything was either burned or smoldering or filled with so much soot until you couldn't see anything. You couldn't describe or identify anything to someone who had not seen it before. So we had to start from the beginning. My wife and I, Ernestine, decided that instead of selling the house, as some people said, sell the property, get rid of it, it's a headache, or tear it down and build another one, we decided that we would redo the house again, bring it back, from the ashes, as it were. And to do so meant that we had to go to the county in Prince George's County, and the people there, the experts, said, if you're going to do this, you're going to have to do it this way. You cannot be the contractor. You got to hire someone who's going to oversee everything. You've got to get the permits. You got to do this. You got to do this. You got to have insurance. You got to have. I said, okay, I will comply with every rule there is. How long will it take? And the expert said, approximately 4 months. Well, we're probably into our 9th month, and we probably have another month and a half to go. So maybe in a month and a half, I'll come back and I'll show you what the house looks like today or that day. Contractor issues, probably the biggest topic I would like to talk to for the next few minutes, because I've never been a contractor before. My wife and I are realtors in the Washington, D.C., Virginia, and Maryland metropolitan area. We've been doing this a long time. We've seen lots of houses, but personally, we've never experienced anything like this. I've seen lots of home inspections from top to bottom, whether they were new or homes that were 50, 60, 70 years old, and I had a pretty good idea what needed to be repaired. However, when it's a personal matter, it's not as easy to just look at something and say, okay, you come in and do this, and you do this, and you do this. No, everything matters. You want everything to be as much as it was before as it will be when you are finished. That's not easy. It's really not, especially when you consider the fact that the house, being as old as it was, some of those things are outdated. We hated losing the mantle over the fireplace. It had been there for over 100 years. We hated losing the staircase. It was all handcrafted and everything. Fortunately, the county says, you can keep the staircase, but the mantle is burned. So we kept what we could, and we brought in the new. So much with the old being out and the new being of today. New floors, new walls, new paint, new windows, new kitchen, new air conditioning system, everything new. In fact, we even made the house bigger because after we looked at it for a while, we thought to ourselves, now we live in a fairly decent sized house. It's just the two of us. The guys are gone. It's just the two of us. We don't really do as much as we used to. It's just the two of us. Maybe we should downsize like so many of our friends who moved out of their larger homes and decided, no, a 2-bedroom condominium is not enough. So we put our signature on this house. And in doing so, it's taking a little longer than I anticipated. But what's taking mostly the time to do all these things, I should say more time than what I really factored in, was dealing with contractors. It's a love-hate relationship. So you scour, you call, you look around, you try to find somebody who you can trust. Trust matters. The state of Maryland does not allow me to act as a contractor because, number one, I don't have the experience, I don't have a license, I don't have the insurance. No bank is going to lend me money on top of the money that the insurance company is going to pay. The contractor is going to do the work, and also the suppliers who are going to provide the lumber and all the other building materials and the kitchen and everything else. So finding a contractor, no problemo, I thought. They are a different breed. It's a love-hate relationship. Some of them are very good. And when you find one that's really good, it's like a mate. You want to make sure that they don't look at someone else while you're considering them, because they all make it seem as though their time is precious, and if you can't make a decision right now, you're not going to hire me, which is the reverse of, I'm not going to hire you to pay me to have my guys come in and do the work. So it's, what do you call it? What type of dance is it? Well, anyway, you're taking your time and you're being very graceful, sort of like at the prom, you know what I mean? Contractor issues, finding one, keeping one, making sure that they have good references, because most of the time the references that you're going to be looking at are people they did work for 5 or 6 years ago. What you did 5 or 6 years ago as far as the kitchen is concerned has no bearing on what you can do today. References matter. Licenses. Yes, I'm licensed in all 3 jurisdictions. I've worked for some of the major builders. I have 40 plus years experience, blah, 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 blah. And I'm insured. Check the references, check the licenses, check the insurance. Sometimes there's a fly in the buttermilk, a fly in the ointment. Sometimes the contractor is not licensed anymore. Was licensed in Delaware, but Delaware says you can't do business here anymore because of what you did. You know what you did. You may not admit to it. So you say, well, if they do wrong, I'll take them to court. Good luck on that. Now, who works for the contractor other than you, the homeowner, the person who's having the repairs done? The subcontractor. So if you can't trust the contractor, or if you know the contractor is really good, then can you trust the subcontractor who works for the contractor who works for you? Well, it's really not that much of a problem, because a good subcontractor goes hand in hand with a good contractor. In my case, the contractor was not allowed to hire the people who worked for me because the contractor was only a manager. The state of Maryland only allowed me to hire someone as a consultant to make sure that the subcontractors or the contractors that I hired did the work that they were supposed to do as per the statutes and also, well, the laws of that jurisdiction, Prince George's County, the statutes of the state of Maryland. So what you discover is sometimes if this is someone that you don't know or someone who you trust to tell you that this person comes with good references, it becomes a money game, and you're not aware of it until a little bit later on, that the contractor and the subcontractor are bosom buddies. Well, how does that factor into the renovation of a house, a home that you may one day have for yourself? Unless you're in that business, you just don't know. You have to play it by ear. You have to get as many proposals as you can, bids, and then you look at them and you call as many people as you possibly can, as I had to do. Some of these people I knew before, but I just had to find out, can you really do this? Sure. According to them, they can do everything. Everything meaning the demolition. Demolition, yes. There's going to be a demolition because the house was burned. And the insurance company mandates that you replace everything that will be a hazard in this house that burned. the inspectors, the professionals said that temperatures could have exceeded 2,500 degrees in this house. Who knows, maybe to 3,000 degrees. There were plastics. There were all kinds of toxic things going on in this house. What are you going to do? Well, if you're unscrupulous, you're going to cover them up with new lumber and new wall board and new paint and new this and new that. And get the yard landscaped, and everybody's going to be happy. It happens. And you don't know until you find out later on. You're sitting there and you're watching the news and you see that, well, this contractor has been charged with, or someone has sued them because of gross negligence or what they did before when they squeezed someone out of their precious money. Not enough to do the house as you would want, but just enough to get it back to the point that the insurance company says, this is what the state of the house was before you encountered or you suffered from this loss. Give me an example. Your house cost you $350,000. The damage that was done was $350,000. But when the assessments are done, the insurance company probably thinks that, well, there's a difference between market value and replacement value, so we're only going to give you $250,000. And you say, what the? I cannot do anything with, well, you'd better. You better do the best you can. Does that mean you have to skimp on the contractor, skimp on the materials, skimp on this and skimp on that? Does that mean that your wish list is no longer a wish list, but just another piece of toilet paper you're going to flush? No, what you're going to do is your homework, just like I had to do, just like my wife had to do, just like you will do if you ever have a situation like this. Hope that you don't have incur a fire or a flood or some type of catastrophic loss that could have endangered someone's life. Heaven forbid that someone did die in the fire or the flood. But it didn't happen here. So I could focus more on what things cost. Things cost more on the retail level than they do on the wholesale level. Things cost more if you are new to the game compared to someone who does $200,000 worth of business and more with Home Depot or Lowe's or 84 Lumber. You get different treatments. Sort of like when I worked in the radio industry for years, I could walk into a nightclub and, hi, how you doing? And the MC would say, there's James Jack. Hey, guy, what's happening? Walk in now and someone is going to escort you back to the door because you did not pay. Yes, I have to pay now. I pay for meals. I pay for all the freebies that I took for granted. And so as a result, when you go into Lowe's, unless you've got a line of credit with them, you're going to pay. But if you do business with them on a regular basis, or someone else does business with them on a regular basis that can vouch for you, then you'll get a break. So you're looking for that break. You're looking for that 5% discount. You're looking for someone who's a veteran, if you're not a veteran, to go in with you and get another 5% discount. And you say, well, that's only 10%. Hey, let me tell you something. When wallboard costs $80 a sheet, 10% adds up when you're buying, how many? 42 sheets of wallboard. You say, 42 sheets, that's nothing. 42 sheets will just barely replace the 42 sheets or the plaster that was in your house that was built 100 years ago. The wallboard built, house built 35 years ago. At that time, it may have cost $10 a sheet. Now it costs $65, $75, $80. So you're looking for a bargain constantly. You're looking online. You're doing everything that you possibly can to save money, because money is what it's all about in every stage, from the demolition to the start of the reconstruction. Reconstruction meaning, we're going to be going inside the house and taking out everything, every stick is lumber, every vent, everything. We're going to purge. We're going to do all kinds of crazy things to the house. We've got 40 pages of everything from electrical to architectural drawings to all this and all that. And these guys, when they open up to their page, they know exactly how much they're going to charge you by looking at it and saying, look at that porch there. That's $2,000. Look at this deck. That's 4,000. It all begins to add up. The floors, the hardwood floors, as opposed to the linoleum that you thought, or the carpet that you thought you could get away with, the kitchen that you thought you were going to get away with. You're going to add another room because the room that you had was not large enough. All of this adds up to time and money. I love this. This is mine. And when it's done, it's going to be framed and put on the wall. Jack Residence, Princess Garden Parkway, Lanham, Maryland. I thought this was a lot to see until I saw a house that was being built for $1 million. Maybe twice as many pages. I have 5 or 6 copies of these. One goes with me everywhere I go. One is in the trunk of the car. One is in the house because by law it has to stay in the house, or statute as it were, ordinance, it has to be in the house. One that the architect took, one that the painters have. One, I must have had about 40 or 50 of these printed at $40 starting to print. The bank only gave you so much money to work with. What are you going to do? You're going to start pinching. Someone told me that they charged all their professionals for each copy of the drawings that they did not get back at the very end. I say, well, what am I going to do with them? Burn them in the pit? Can't do anything. It's all about the dollars. I constantly keep track of every penny that I'm spending. And as the money begins to dwindle, and every night it's like, I really don't care who wins the NBA championship. I really don't care who makes it to the All-Star game in the MLB. I really don't care. All I want to do is get this over with so I can sit in the backyard and think about, wow, we brought it back to life. This house will be here long after I'm gone, if it does not encounter another catastrophe. And hopefully, if it does, someone else will rebuild it too. Money. So we talked about the contractors and their little game that they play. They're very innocent, choir boys, as it were. 1 or 2 choir girls too, because there are a lot of ladies in the industry, and some of them are better than the men because they're more strict to detail. They know things and they also know how to select things that really work. Most of the guys that I've encountered, yes, I'm being prejudiced about this, most of these guys don't know one color from another. Everything is apartment white to them. So what are you going to do? Can you trust their taste? Well, sometimes you have to, unless you have someone who understands that you're rebuilding a home, and a home has to have a heart. It has to have feelings. The colors must flow. The textures must mean something. It's got to breathe. It's got to live. It's got to taste like something, like etouffee. Yes. Or Grand Marnier, even better. The money that the insurance company pays you does not go directly to you. It goes to the bank that holds the mortgage unless you have paid the mortgage off and you are the sole owner of the house and you have burned the mortgage. So the bank is sitting on your $250,000. It's gaining a little bit of interest, but they're never going to tell you how much it is until you finally find out. But if you're pretty good at math, banks do the same thing every night. They take your money and they make money off that too. So they're really not in a hurry for you to fix it. That's business. But you don't want to waste a lot of time trying to get the house built or rebuilt or renovated because you're paying a mortgage every month on a house that you're not even living in, plus the one that you're living in. Excedrin headache number 52. The stages. We're in the framing stage. That's when the guys come in and strip everything in the house after the demolition. There are other things that have to be taken out. And then in comes the lumber, all brand new lumber. Yes! Smells good, but you can still smell the soot and the embers and everything else. When is it going to go away? Well, if it's a brick house, the inside bricks have to be sealed. Those that were destroyed have to be taken out. Everything must go. Everything must go. Every stick of wood. Unless it's in the basement and it wasn't bothered. The attic has to go. The roof has to go. I have pictures of where I've stood in the stairway on the second floor where there was nothing but the stairway, and I could see the clouds because there was no roof, no trusses, no attic. And then I can look down into the basement where all the things that are there that they're working with is beneath the floor. It's down there in a hole. You say, wow, look at this. But slowly but surely, stick by stick and new brick by new brick, it all comes together again. The wiring comes in with the electrician. You get your hat, you can walk through like you own the place. I'm wearing a yellow because I did not want to buy a white hat. It cost a couple of dollars more. She won't let me sit it on the mantle after the house is done, but I have another place for it. Safety first, because you're going to bump your head and your knees and everything else against things that, how did this get in the way? Well, they're in the way because you don't know what you're doing, but the contractors and the specialists, the people, the experts, they know what they're doing. All day long. Bang, bang, bang. So you buy all this lumber and half of it winds up in a dumpster because they cut it to measure and the rest they throw it away. Your money, it's gone. It's supposed to be 16 feet long. They only need 14 feet, so they cut 14 feet and throw the other 2 feet away. Not a problem. It's supposed to be 8 feet long, so they cut 8 feet and throw the other feet away. After a while, you get so accustomed to seeing all this stuff, you don't even need a ruler. You can just look at it and tell how long it is. You can actually look at a room and tell what the dimensions are. By the time they've completed that part, you can look at a room and tell how much money you're going to spend on floors, if you want hardwood floors or if you want carpeting. It doesn't feel so bad by then because now it's becoming a home again. The memories of the burn is still there. But seeing in the spring the flowers blooming, the plants are growing, the trees have blossomed, the deer are out in the yard and everything, it's becoming a home. The mortgage company will not give you the money all at once. They'll give it to you in draws, usually 4 to 5. And each one of those draws is a stage of development, completion. Getting to 50% is not as easy as you might think. To 75%, not as easy as you might think. Why from 75% to 90%, I just don't know. But that's where I am now. And in a few weeks, we'll be at 100%, and when I come back, and I tell you about what it was really like to go through all those inspections, 1 denial, 5 inspections, only 1. And that was because the guy said he didn't feel like doing anything that day, and he said, I'm going to postpone this till Monday, and somebody else will come and take a look at it. At first you want to just, but no, you're glad that he did not inspect the house because he was going to find something to reject it on, and you do not want him to put that little red sticker in the window. Because when he does put it in the window, that means you got to start all over again at that point where he says, fix this, fix this, fix this, fix this, fix this, fix this, I'll be back. And you say, please, not him. Let it be somebody else. Let it be that other guy who comes in and looks and says, this looks good. I like this. I'm going to pass you. All the inspections are done except the last one from the bank. 2 weeks before the check comes. You use that money to plant grass, more flowers, and do a little painting on the outside. It's a good feeling. It took 3 months to get the permit. It has taken 9 months to get the house completed in a term that supposedly was only going to be 4 months. Some people say I've lost weight. Some will say I look tired. I am tired. Would I go through this again? Damn straight. You know why? Because I love it. It's something that I never thought I would like. Now I have a passion for probably building a house from the ground up, one that I imagined, a beautiful home, maybe 2 or 3. Then I'll come back here on Skills to Pay the Bills and Homes Radio and tell you what it was like. I like what I'm doing, and you should too. Until then, you have yourself the best that you can have, because there's none better. Adios.